Well, welcome back to Dragon Pugs. I am GL Gregg, author of the Sporran, and on Dragon Pugs we are walking through this novel about Jacob Boyd. This will be episode 5, and if you recall, we left Jacob, Will, and Jenny at the breakfast table. Actually, Mom was just taking Jacob to baseball practice after a pretty intense morning where a blood-red ball rolled out of the Sporran. Well, let's see where we go from here. After telling his mother goodbye and reminding her to please pick him up again in 2 hours, Jacob retrieved his cleats, glove, and bat from the trunk, slammed the lid, and turned toward the baseball field. Just a few players had arrived before Jacob, and they were already out in the field warming up. Any of you play baseball? I played baseball when I was a kid. It was a big part of my part of my life when I was a kid. Jacob sat down on the bottom bench of the bleachers to exchange his sneakers for his cleats. So preoccupied by the appearance of the ball and the disappearance of the gold cup, Jacob didn't even notice there was someone else on the bleachers, too. "Good morning," said a voice from behind. Startled, Jacob turned around to find himself looking right into the eyes of the bearded stranger who had shown up in the town just a few days before. Remember, we saw him outside of science class and also playing golf at Eagle Creek Golf Course and looking up at the bus when Jacob drove by. Good morning," Jacob stammered. "What team do you play on, young man?" The Pirates, sir." "Ah, baseball was never me game. I play golf now and used to play a sport like baseball on a team called the Dirks. But that was a long time ago," the man replied. Jacob turned to head out onto the field, but stopped and turned back when the man spoke again. "Remember, when a mystery has you stuck in a real thicket, the answer may be in the lowly little cricket." Well, that's very weird, isn't it? When the mystery has you stuck in a real thicket, the answer may be in the lowly cricket. Jacob raised his eyebrows as a way of acknowledging that the man had said something, and then turned onto the field to greet his teammates. Jogging out toward second base to throw with Johnny Jepson, he looked back at the bleachers where he and the man had sat just moments before. Nothing. It was empty. The man was gone. Practice went well, though being understandably distracted, Jacob let a number of balls go through his legs at second base during infield practice, and nearly had his head taken off when Jeffrey Mullen smashed a line drive back at him during batting practice. Man, you got to stay alert if you're on the infield during batting practice. "Need a nap, Boyd?" Coach Bud yelled from the dugout more than once that morning. When Jacob and his mother arrived back at the house that afternoon, the mail had come and a small package was waiting on the doorstep. "Mom, there's a package," he announced to his mother, who was coming up the walk behind him. "Didn't your dad tell you he was sending something?" she asked, though she knew very well the answer. "Yep, it's from Dad," Jacob said as he picked up the package and opened the door. The package contained a set of small papers and a note. The note read, "I miss you guys so much and want to see you soon. Mom has to work, I know, but here's a ticket for you. See you in Scotland for spring break, bud." "I'm going to Scotland? Spring break is just days away." Jacob missed his dad and wanted to see him, but he wondered how he could leave now. How can I leave when such strange things are happening at home? Things were disappearing and appearing in his life, and he needed Jenny and Will to help figure it out. How can I leave my mother? How can I leave my mother alone in a house that has a red ball? I'm assuming the ball is still there, that is, and then there was that strange bearded man. Well, truthfully, he was glad to be getting away from him. That's the end of that chapter. Now, so they're heading to Scotland. It's about to heat up. It's got to get pretty exciting. Next chapter, though, is called Cricket. Now, if you remember, we just heard from the bearded stranger this line. When a mystery has you stuck in a real thicket, the answer may be in the lowly cricket. Next chapter, Cricket. Jenny and Will were circling their bikes in the cul-de-sac near the Boyd house at 10 Long Branch Drive when Jacob and Mrs. Boyd pulled in from baseball practice. They were talking and wondering and waiting to get back to the blood-red ball. They were all concerned of what might have happened since they left the house hours before. Jenny and Will raced their bikes down the hill and into the Boyd drive when Mrs. Boyd's car returned. Jacob met them at the door with a look of desperation on his face. "Oh boy, what's wrong?" said Jenny. "It's hatched into a baby dragon, hasn't it?" blurted Will with his eyes bulging out like two boiled eggs. "Worse, maybe," said Jacob. "Dad sent me a ticket to go to Scotland for break." "Cool," answered Will. Jenny, however, instantly realized the problem. What was Jacob supposed to do with this thing while he was gone? What if something happened to his mom while he wasn't here? "We have no time to lose, then," asserted Jenny. "It's time to get to work." Taking charge of the situation, Jenny began barking orders to Will and Jacob to gather up the Sporran and that ball, if it was still a ball, that is, and to meet them in the library in 1 hour. "Yes, sir," both boys said sarcastically and went to their tasks. Will found the Sporran and Jacob retrieved the ball or the egg or whatever it was, right where he had left it, unchanged, unmoved, seeming utterly unalive in its little baggie. Running out the door a few minutes later, Jacob caught himself in mid-stride on the walkway in front of the Boyd house. "Whoa!" he uttered as he held his foot in midair and began bouncing on one foot. "What are you doing?" asked Will. "It's a cricket on the walk," Jacob answered. "Well, how exciting, nature lovers," Will said sarcastically, as if he were the announcer on some nature show on TV. "Well, it just reminded me. That bearded guy told me today," said Jacob. He went on to explain the story of meeting the bearded man at baseball practice. He said something about, when you are in a thicket, look to the cricket. Jacob ended his story as he examined the small black bug on the ground. "He seems even creepier than we thought," added Will. Jacob just shrugged his shoulders and took a step toward his bike. The red ball, carefully wrapped in a double plastic bag, was at Jacob's backpack with the Sporran as they rode northeast toward town. Arriving, they found Jenny sitting alone in a stack of books about traditional Scottish costumes, fairy tales, Scottish dress, and history. "Look at this," Jenny remarked. "A book all about that thing you have there." Jacob flipped through the book entitled Sporrans and Other Pouches Through the Ages, which was full of pictures and paintings of sporrans and other purse-like things that people have used to carry things in. Some were very fancy and some were just very plain. Meanwhile, Will was wandering off into the stacks. Walking through the fourth aisle behind Mrs. Wiggins' checkout desk, something caught his attention. To his right, he noticed a quick movement and then heard a pulsating Bending over and looking at the third shelf, Will realized that he had seen it before. What he was hearing was a cricket. There was a cricket in the library. Was it the same cricket that Jacob almost stepped on at the house just moments before? Had it somehow attached itself to us and ridden to the library, he was thinking? Did it somehow have superpowers and made it here on its own? Was it just another stupid little cricket? A coincidence and nothing more? With all that had happened, Will decided to take no chances. Squatting down, he came face to face with the little critter. He jabbed his right hand fast at the humming insect, but not fast enough. The cricket jumped over the books on the shelf and disappeared behind the stack, while Will's hand crashed through the books, causing some to fall hard on the floor and others to fall back into the area between the rows. A forceful and unquestionably Mrs. Wiggins like shh was hurled his way. Embarrassed, he was attempting to reassemble the shelf of books and had momentarily forgotten about his prey when his eye noticed a book in his hand, and on the spine of the book was the letters CRICKET. The full title was An Everyman's Guide to the History and Rules of the Glorious and Royal Game of Cricket. Will's heart began to race as fast as the flashes of ideas zinging through his mind. This couldn't be a coincidence, could it? He turned the book in his hands and then sent it crashing to the floor as he stumbled back into the bookshelf on the opposite side of the aisle. There, staring back at him on the cover of that book, was a basket full of blood-red balls. Recovering his senses, Will grabbed the book and rushed toward the table where Jenny and Jacob sat with the books that Jenny had found. "Do not run," said Mrs. Wiggins, as Will passed her desk, holding the book at arm's length, as if it were some kind of poisonous snake or something. Jenny looked up at Will's approaching the table. Before even seeing Will's face, she saw the cover of the book he was carrying. Jacob! Jacob better look up," Jenny said, smacking at his arm with her knuckles. "It's the ball," Jacob exclaimed as he stood excitedly. "Where did you find it?" he asked. Never mind. Let's see that thing." The three huddled close to each other and stared at the picture on the cover. "What on earth is cricket?" said Jenny. They opened the book and began to look at the pictures of the men in white uniforms holding long paddles. There were pictures of men seeming to pitch to the ones at the paddles, and others stood behind them. It reminded Jacob of his favorite game, and one he played that very morning, baseball. The three learned that cricket is a game something like baseball that is played in England, Australia, and a number of other countries around the world. They learned that the area where the thrower stands is called the pitch, and that the paddle thing is called the wicket. They learned all sorts of things about cricket and about the surprise that the Sporran had spit out that morning. "So the ball that came to me is a cricket ball," said Jacob. "But why?" he added. "Why would my pal steal my baseball and return a cricket ball? Here's the cricket ball right here, out of Jacob's Sporran." So that's what a cricket ball looks like. You see, it's got if you remember the description before, instead of where a baseball has, I should have had a baseball here. I see one right up there. Let me go get a baseball real quick. At any rate, where a baseball has stitches like this on it, If you remember what I described it was like one stitch right around the middle of that blood red ball that came out. So now we know it's a cricket ball and not a dragon's egg. We're going to have to wait for the dragon to show up a little bit later. But anyway, that's one mystery solved. Jacob, do you suppose that bearded guy has something to do with this? Asked Will anxiously. After all, you said to yourself that he told you to follow the cricket, or beware of the cricket, or something like that. Jacob looked up from the book on the table and glanced at the ceiling in thought. His eyes rose to their destination, but then shot back down partway to where they had started. Something had caught his eye. There, on the balcony of the second floor, was the disheveled, bearded man staring back at him. Their eyes caught each other's, and Jacob felt a strange sensation, a cross between fear and excitement. "It's him! Come on!" Jacob whispered. "But try to act like nothing's going on." The two friends followed Jacob, looking around very suspiciously, trying to figure out what was going on, without looking like something was going on. "What, Jacob?" Will asked. "Who, Jacob?" Jenny whispered. Jacob ignored the questions as he hurriedly walked up the stairs by the front entrance and climbed to the second floor. "There," Jacob announced as he emerged on the top step. His announcement was premature, however, since there wasn't anything there. "What?" his two friends asked simultaneously as they emerged from the staircase behind him. The man was gone. The second floor was completely empty except for a little girl coloring on the floor near the papier-mâché animal statues in the story corner. "I know I saw him. Where could he have gone?" Jacob stood confused and at the top of the stairs before explaining what was going on to Jenny and Will. As they descended the stairs, the thought slowly started to creep into his imagination that he might well be losing his mind. "But the ball. Yes, the red ball. It's real. I know that because I can feel it. Yes, it's real. It's not all in my mind. I must be okay." He was trying to talk himself into feeling okay. "Well, Jacob, at least we know what the red ball is," Will tried to console his friend. That part of the mystery was now solved, but other things remained just as confusing. Jacob shrugged his shoulders, and the three gathered up the books. They checked out the book on Sporran's and one on the game of cricket, and headed back toward their home to think, and for dinner. That night, Jacob lay in his bed studying the book about cricket and spinning the cricket ball in his fingers as he stared at it and wondered where it had come from and why he had it. The ball had become strangely comforting to him. As long as he had it in his hands, he knew he wasn't making it all up. When his eyes became heavy, he laid the ball on the table by his bed and dropped the book on the floor. The next day was Sunday, and he awoke to a soft shimmer of light playing through the curtains. As he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he remembered he had dreamt of being a cricket player, and of the bearded man, and of a yellow shield with 3 red lions standing on their hind legs, and of a blue flag with a white cross. If you look on the back of the Sporran, you'll see a blue flag with a white cross. Sliding his legs out from under his covers, his feet hit the floor, and he leaned forward to get up. Jacob fell back onto the bed before he even had completely raised to his feet. And every man's guide to the history and rules of the glorious and royal game of cricket was sitting upside down on his floor by his bed. He had never bothered to look at the back cover before. That was yesterday. He didn't look at it. There was the picture of the author, a man he had seen before. It couldn't be, but it was. Right there in the back of the book in his bedroom was the bearded man that had been around town for the last week and who had talked to him at the baseball field. A strange shiver ran down Jacob's shoulder blade and down through his left arm as he read the biography of the author on the back. A graduate of Oxford University, Hamish McGregor is a professor of geographical political sociology and antiquities at St Andrews University in Scotland. Previously a professional cricket player, he now enjoys golf, woodworking, falconry, and travels widely when necessary. So now we know this is Hamish McGregor. Hamish McGregor is the strange bearded stranger, and he travels widely when necessary. Well, he's also a professor at St Andrews University. If you remember, that's where Jacob's dad is, at St Andrews, and that's where Jacob's going to be going now that he's got a ticket to Scotland. Mystery's starting to unfold here. We're starting to figure some things out. Hope you'll stay with me next time. Next chapter is called Turkish Delight. If you ever read the Chronicles of Narnia, you'll know what Turkish Delight is. So we'll leave it right there for this episode, and we'll come back for another one real soon. In the meantime, keep reading, keep imagining, and bye guys.